Are you wondering how an electric chainsaw performs like I was? My friend had this Milwaukee cordless chainsaw and I borrowed it to see how well a battery-powered saw does at cutting trees. Since all my tools are DeWalt, I bought this DeWalt 20-volt cordless chainsaw because I already have extra batteries. I'm going to show you how they both work so you can see which one works best for your needs. Electric chainsaws like these are great at trimming trees or doing demolition work, and you don't want to mess with a gas-powered engine. But these chainsaws are not going to be a tool you take out to a forest, knock a bunch of trees down, and make them into 2x4s. Both chainsaws operate and function the same, but there's some small differences that can be a big deal depending on your needs. Let's start with the similarities. Both have brushless motors, which gives you the power needed to do some heavy-duty cutting. A brushless motor will give you more runtime between charging batteries compared to a saw with a brush motor. The Milwaukee motor runs on 18-volt batteries, and a DeWalt runs on 20-volt batteries, which produce about the same amount of power. Just like traditional gas-powered saws, the chains need oil to stay lubricated. Both saws have an oil reservoir and a sight gauge to know when they need to be filled. Also, just like gas saws, the oil can leak out over time, so you want to put a pan or a rag underneath the saw if it'll be sitting in one spot for a long period of time. Both saws will come ready to use out of the box with a sharp chain. You just need oil and a charged battery to start cutting. And speaking of the chain, both saws have an Oregon brand bar and chain on them, which is the same heavy-duty parts used on gas-powered saws. This makes it easy to find replacement parts when you wear them out or hit a nail. Also, like any chainsaw, the chain wears out over time as you use it. So you'll need a tool to sharpen the chain periodically to continue having smooth cuts. As you are using these saws, they have a safety button to push so you can pull the trigger, but the chain will not spin unless the safety kickback guard is pulled back. It took me a minute to realize this because I can start my gas saw with a kickback guard engaged even though the blade isn't spinning. As you can see, we're not exactly comparing apples to apples here, since the length of the bars are not the same, which is going to affect the size and the weight. I bought the DeWalt chainsaw to pack in the toolbox on my side-by-side for clearing trees that are blocking riding trails. The Milwaukee fits, but the compact size of the DeWalt makes it much easier to take in and out. The length of the bar is different, with the Milwaukee having a 16-inch bar and the DeWalt coming with a 12-inch bar, so the Milwaukee will be able to cut a bigger tree if needed. In reality, electric chainsaws like these are best at cutting trees 6 inches and smaller on a consistent basis. You can also see by looking at the design, they have a different shape. The Milwaukee has a handle at the back like a regular chainsaw. When you grab this saw, it feels just like every other saw I've used. The DeWalt is called a compact model and is much shorter than the Milwaukee. The handle is on top, which makes it easier if you need to reach out with one hand to cut a branch. With the handle in the middle, the weight is balanced much better than a longer Milwaukee. Comparing weights, the Milwaukee feels about twice as heavy as the DeWalt. I don't have a scale handy to get an exact number, but I would estimate the DeWalt is around 10 pounds, while the Milwaukee is around 20 pounds. This is a huge difference if you need to hold a saw in awkward positions. For the ease of operation, the DeWalt has a dial you can turn without needing a tool to access and adjust the chain tension. The Milwaukee, on the other hand, has a traditional bolts on the side that need a tool to loosen them and turn the adjuster. Even though the Milwaukee needs a tool, it is stored right inside the handle, so it's easy to use when you need it. As I mentioned earlier, both saws operate at a similar voltage, but what I've realized is the DeWalt saw is designed to run on their 5 amp hour 20-volt batteries. These are the same batteries I use in my other cordless DeWalt tools, so we have lots of extra batteries already. The Milwaukee chainsaw is designed to run on a 12 amp hour M18 Fuel battery, but most Milwaukee cordless tools use a 5 amp hour and smaller batteries, so to get a full power out of the Milwaukee chainsaw, you will most likely need to purchase additional batteries. I did test the DeWalt with a 6 amp hour 20-volt battery and a 9 amp hour flex volt DeWalt battery. When I did that, I noticed some extra power when I was working the saw hard, so with both saws, a bigger amp hour battery will give you additional power. Now that you have all the details, let's get into how you can purchase these saws. This Milwaukee chainsaw is a 2727-20, which is a bare tool that comes just with a blade guard and will use a battery you already own. The DeWalt chainsaw is a DC CS620. The bare tool will come just like this with a blade guard and it will use a battery you already own. You can find the links to these saws and the kits they come in the description down below. Now that you know the difference between these cordless saws, you can buy the right tool the first time without being frustrated you bought the wrong tool.